Day 97, read the Bible in a year. Ruth 1, 2, 3, and 4. Ruth 1. In the days when the judges judged, there was a famine in the land. A certain man of Bethlehem, Judah, went to live in the country of Moab with his wife and his 2 sons. The name of the man was Elimelech, and the name of his wife, Naomi. The names of his 2 sons were Mahlon and Chilion, Ephrathites of Bethlehem, Judah. They came into the country of Moab and lived there. Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died, and she was left with her 2 sons. They took for themselves wives of the women of Moab. The name of the one was Orpah, and the name of the other was Ruth. They lived there about 10 years. Mahlon and Chilion both died, and the woman was bereaved of her 2 children and of her husband. Then she arose with her daughters-in-law, that she might return from the country of Moab, for she had heard in the country of Moab how the Lord had visited his people in giving them bread. She went out of the place where she was, and her 2 daughters-in-law with her. They went on the way to return to the land of Judah. Naomi said to her 2 daughters-in-law, "Go, return each of you to her mother's house. May the Lord deal kindly with you, as you have dealt with the dead and with me. May the Lord grant you that you may find rest, each of you in the house of her husband." Then she kissed them, and they lifted up their voices, and they wept. They said to her, "No, we will return with you to your people." Naomi said, "Go back, my daughters. Why do you want to go with me? Do I still have sons in my womb, that they may be your husbands? Go back, my daughters. Go your way, for I am too old to have a husband. If I should say I have hope, if I should ever even have a husband tonight and should also bear sons, would you then wait until they were grown? Would you then refrain from having husbands? No, my daughters, for it grieves me seriously for your sake, for the Lord's hand has gone out against me." They lifted up their voices and wept again. Then Orpah kissed her mother-in-law, but Ruth stayed with her. She said, "Your sister-in-law has gone back to her people and to her God. Follow your sister-in-law." Ruth said, "Don't urge me to leave you and return from following you. For where you go, I will go, and where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God, my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May the Lord do to me, and more also, if anything but death parts you and me." When Naomi saw that she was determined to go with her, she stopped urging her. So they both went until they came to Bethlehem. When they had come to Bethlehem, all the city was excited about them, and they asked, "Is this Naomi?" She said to them, "Don't call me Naomi. Call me Mara, for the Almighty has dealt very bitterly with me. I went out full, and the Lord has brought me home again empty. Why do you call me Naomi, since the Lord has testified against me, and the Almighty has afflicted me?" So Naomi returned, and Ruth the Moabitess, her daughter-in-law, with her, who returned out of the country of Moab. They came to Bethlehem in the beginning of barley harvest.
Ruth chapter 2. Naomi had a relative of her husband's, a mighty man of wealth, of the family of Elimelech, and his name was Boaz. Ruth the Moabitess said to Naomi, "Let me now go to the field and glean among the ears of grain after him, in whose sight I find favor." She said to her, "Go, my daughter." She went and came and gleaned in the field after the reapers. And she happened to come to the portion of the field belonging to Boaz, who was of the family of Elimelech. Boaz came from Bethlehem and said to the reapers, "May the Lord be with you." They answered him, "May the Lord bless you." Then Boaz said to his servant, who was set over the reapers, "Whose young lady is this?" The servant who was set over the reapers answered, It is the Moabite lady who came back with Naomi out of the country of Moab. She said, please let me glean and gather after the reapers among the sheaves. So she came and has continued even from the morning until now, except that she rested a little in the house. Then Boaz said to Ruth, listen, my daughter, don't go glean in another field, and don't go from here, but stay close to my maidens. Let your eyes be on the field that they reap, and go after them. Haven't I commanded the young men not to touch you? When you are thirsty, go to the vessels and drink from that which the young men have drawn. Then she fell on her face and bowed herself to the ground and said to him, why have I found favor in your sight, that you should take knowledge of me, since I'm a foreigner? Boaz answered her, I have been told all about what you have done for your mother-in-law since the death of your husband, and how you have left your father, your mother, and the land of your birth, and have come to a people that you didn't know before. May the Lord repay your work, and a full reward be given to you from the Lord, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have come to take refuge. Then she said, let me find favor in your sight, my Lord, because you have comforted me, and because you have spoken kindly to your servant, though I am not as one of your servants. At mealtime, Boaz said to her, come here and eat some bread, and dip your morsel in the vinegar. She sat beside the reapers, and they passed her parched grain. She ate and was satisfied, and left some of it. When she had risen up to glean, Boaz commanded his young men, saying, let her glean even among the sheaves, and don't reproach her. Also pull out some for her from the bundles and leave it. Let her glean, and don't rebuke her. So she gleaned in the field until evening, and she beat out that which she had gleaned. It was about an ephah of barley. She took it up and went into the city. Then her mother-in-law saw what she had gleaned, and she brought out and gave to her that which she had left after she had enough. Her mother-in-law said to her, where have you gleaned today? Where have you worked? Blessed be he who noticed you. She told her mother-in-law with whom she had worked, the man's name with whom I work today is Boaz. Naomi said to her daughter-in-law, may he be blessed by the Lord, who has not abandoned his kindness to the living and to the dead. Naomi said to her, the man is a close relative to us, one of our near kinsmen. Ruth, the Moabitess, said, yes, he said to me, you shall stay close to my young men until they have finished all my harvest. Naomi said to Ruth, her daughter-in-law, it is good, my daughter, that you go out with his maidens, and that they not harm you in any other field. So she stayed close to the maidens of Boaz, to glean to the end of the barley harvest and of wheat harvest, and she lived with her mother-in-law.
Ruth 3. Naomi, her mother-in-law, said to her, my daughter, shall I not seek rest for you, that it may be well with you? Now isn't Boaz our kinsman, with whose maidens you were? He will be winnowing barley tonight on the threshing floor. Go wash yourself, anoint yourself, get dressed, and go down to the threshing floor. But don't make yourself known to the man until he has finished eating and drinking. It shall be when he lies down that you shall note the place where he is lying. Then you shall go in, uncover his feet, and lie down. Then he will tell you what to do. She said to her, all that you say I will do. She went down to the threshing floor and did everything that her mother-in-law told her. When Boaz had eaten and drunk, and his heart was merry, he went to lie down at the end of the heap of grain. She came softly and covered his feet and lay down. At midnight, the man was startled and turned himself, and a woman lay at his feet. He said, who are you? She answered, I am Ruth, your servant. Therefore spread the corner of your garment over your servant, for you are a near kinsman. He said, you are blessed by the Lord, my daughter. You have shown more kindness in the latter and than at the beginning, because you didn't follow young men, whether poor or rich. Now, my daughter, don't be afraid. I will do to you all that you say, for all the city of my people knows that you are a worthy woman. Now it is true that I am a near kinsman. However, there is a kinsman nearer than I. Stay tonight, and in the morning, if he will perform for you the part of a kinsman, good. Let him do the kinsman's duty. But if he will not do the duty of kinsman for you, then I will do the duty of a kinsman for you. As the Lord lives, lie down until the morning." She lay at his feet until the morning. Then she rose up before one could discern another. For he said, "Let it not be known that the woman came to the threshing floor." He said, "Bring the mantle that is on you and hold it." She held it, and he measured 6 measures of barley and laid it on her. And then he went into the city. When she came to her mother-in-law, she said, "How did it go, my daughter?" She told her all that the man had done for her. She said, "He gave me these 6 measures of barley, for he said, 'Don't go empty to your mother-in-law.'" Then she said, "Wait, my daughter, until you know what will happen, for the man will not rest until he has settled this today."
Ruth chapter 4. Now Boaz went up to the gate and sat down there. The near kinsman of whom Boaz spoke came by. Boaz said to him, "Come over here, friend, and sit down." He came over and he sat down. Boaz took 10 men of the elders of the city and said, "Sit down here." And they sat down. He said to the near kinsman, "Naomi, who has come back out of the country of Moab, is selling the parcel of land which was our brother Elimelech's. I thought I should tell you, saying, 'Buy it before those who sit here, and before the elders of my people. If you will redeem it, redeem it. But if you will not redeem it, then tell me, that I may know, for there is no one to redeem it besides you, and I am after you.' He said, 'I will redeem it.' Then Boaz said, 'On the day you buy the field from the hand of Naomi, you must buy it also from Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of the dead, to raise up the name of the dead of his inheritance.' The near kinsman said, 'I can't redeem it for myself, lest I endanger my own inheritance. Take my right of redemption for yourself, for I can't redeem it.' Now this was the custom in former time in Israel concerning redeeming and concerning exchanging. To confirm all things, a man took off his sandal and gave it to his neighbor. And this was the way of formalizing transactions in Israel. So the near kinsman said to Boaz, 'Buy it for yourself.' Then he took off his sandal. Boaz said to the elders and to all the people, 'You are witnesses today that I have bought all that was Elimelech's, and all that was Chilion's and Mahlon's from the hand of Naomi. Moreover, Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of Mahlon, I have purchased to be my wife, to raise up the name of the dead on his inheritance, that the name of the dead may not be cut off from among his brothers and from the gate of his place. You are witnesses today.' All the people who were in the gate and the elders said, 'We are witnesses. May the Lord make the woman who has come into your house like Rachel and like Leah, which both built the house of Israel, and treat you worthily in Ephrathah, and be famous in Bethlehem. Let your house be like the house of Perez, whom Tamar bore to Judah, to the offspring which the Lord will give you by this young woman.' So Boaz took Ruth, and she became his wife, and he went into her, and the Lord enabled her to conceive, and she bore a son. The woman said to Naomi, 'Blessed be the Lord, who has not left you today without a near kinsman. Let his name be famous in Israel. He shall be to you a restorer of life and sustain you in your old age. For your daughter-in-law, who loves you, who is better to you than 7 sons, has given birth to him.' Naomi took the child, laid him in her bosom, and became a nurse to him. The woman, her neighbors, gave him a name, saying, 'A son is born to Naomi.' They named him Obed. He is the father of Jesse, the father of David. Now this is the history of the generations of Perez. Perez became the father of Hezron, and Hezron became the father of Ram, and Ram became the father of Amminadab, and Amminadab became the father of Nahshon, and Nahshon became the father of Salmon. Salmon became the father of Boaz, and Boaz became the father of Obed, and Obed became the father of Jesse, and Jesse became the father of David.
What an amazing story.
It's nice to have a story like this after the Judges epic.
Yeah, true. That's a very good point. You know, you have Naomi and Ruth. They're a story about their life, a story about trials and heartache. Naomi was wondering, why was God punishing her? But I noticed that at no point in the Bible does it say that God was punishing her.
It was how Naomi took it.
It's how she felt.
Yeah.
And I can think of many times in my life where I felt like, God, why are you punishing me? You know, God's going to punish us at different times when we sin, but this wasn't a result of sin. This is just things that happen.
Life happens.
Bad things can happen in life.
Yeah.
And sometimes we can take it as God's punishing us, but sometimes it's just that God's redirecting us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I really like the character of Boaz in this story. What a guy or a man who was full of integrity and chose to do what's right to honor God, not out of selfish gain or anything in material possessions, but he knew what was right, to treat people with the respect that they deserve.
Yeah, you can see that coming through in his character. You know, Naomi had asked her daughters-in-laws to stay. Don't go with her. Because why? They weren't going to be able to necessarily marry an Israelite, right? The Israelites couldn't marry people outside of their group. Now, Naomi, her husband and herself had gone to the Moabites, and those were not Israelites. And then her sons intermarried. They weren't supposed to do that. They went against the laws of what the Israelites had set out, what God had said.
Sure,
you
yeah.
can't marry outside of the Israelites. So they had done something, her sons had done something that they shouldn't have. And maybe the fact that they moved there was something they shouldn't have done. They were living among people who weren't God's people, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there was a couple of things that were done that Naomi was really pulled into, that happened, and it was out of her control.
Yeah.
And so now she has these amazing women who are her daughters-in-law, and she's really looking out for them. I thought it was a very selfless act of Naomi to say, you know what, you just stay. Because she wanted them to be able to marry. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And she knew that if they came back home, that there was a good chance that they were going to not be able to, that they would not be able to have a husband and get married.
Yeah. But we get a glimpse of the difference in the two sisters. You know, after discussing it with Naomi, Orpah goes back to her family and says, yeah, you're right. You're right, Mom. I'm going to go back and take care of my needs. But Ruth, there must have been a switching in her heart. She saw something. I don't know what it is, but as we were reading there, she said, your people will become my people. Your God will become my God. She saw something in Ruth, in her faith, that really, I think, drove her to follow God in a meaningful way.
Yeah, I mean, Orpah went back to her gods.
Yeah.
Right? So these were idols. And Ruth, she converted. She wanted to be like the Israelites. She actually converted. She said, your God is my God. And so she came to faith. And so with that, even though she came to faith, she was still in a situation where she could have still ended up being a widow for the rest of her life.
Yeah.
So she was being extremely selfless in her heart when she came back with Naomi to Naomi's land, to the Moabites.
Yeah, and I think it's a testimony to both Naomi and Ruth that they knew that the road before them was going to be very challenging. You know, the chances of Naomi was none to have children, for Ruth to marry. So what was she going to do? They knew that this future they had kind of looked bleak.
Yeah.
But yet they came back knowing that God is faithful.
They wanted to be around. She wanted to go back to her people, to the Israelites. And also, she knew that at least they'd be taken care of. They'd have food to eat.
Yeah.
They wouldn't starve to death. I mean, they had no one to take care of them. And so at least the minimum was that she was going to have food to eat. Maybe nothing else, but there was going to be food. God had bigger plans.
Yeah.
Because of both of their hearts, God had a bigger plan for both of them in their life.
Yeah. And I think it shows God's character. They go back to Bethlehem and Judah, and they knew that God had set up provisions in his law to protect those who were disenfranchised or those who were on the outskirts. And Boaz, again, we see his faithfulness to God's law. He didn't glean the edges of his field. He left it for Ruth to glean. And not only that, he commanded his workers, well, leave a little bit here, a little bit there to protect her as well. He saw something in Ruth's character that was good, and he decided to even take God's commandments deeper.
I think the fact that perhaps the fact that Boaz's his mother was Rahab the prostitute. She was a Canaanite.
Yeah.
And so she had converted. She had become an Israelite. And she was a prostitute. She left her land to become to the Israelites. She risked her life. She saved her family to follow God. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure that he heard these stories over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So I think that, Boaz's heart was probably maybe a little bit more tender for somebody who was a foreigner. He had more compassion. He could understand and maybe be a bit more open than other people because of the life of his grandmother, of who she was and what she did, what she represented.
Sure.
I think he probably had a bit of that same heart that Rahab the prostitute had, and he had compassion for people who were outsiders.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting that you bring that up because Rahab is in the genealogy of Jesus, but then we also see that Boaz is right in the middle of Rahab, and then later on becomes the great-grandfather of David, King David, who is, the first king of Judah and is also in the line of Jesus. I think we're seeing God, if we take the step back from the story, we're seeing how God is working in spite of the failings and the horrible, heinous acts that the Israelites did previously in Judges. God is working.
And I think that we also see God's heart for people,
Yes.
for mankind. He's not so concerned about their exterior things, where they come from necessarily. He's concerned about the heart.
Yeah.
And Ruth had the heart. She went out and she did extra to take care of her. She was taking care of her mother-in-law. She went to make sure that her mother-in-law was taken care of.
Yeah.
And she did it.
Yeah.
She was taking care of her. That shone. And because of her heart shown by her actions, it drew the attention of Boaz. And then Ruth is in the line of Jesus. She's one of the great whatever grandmothers of Jesus.
It's so cool. So cool.
Just again showing how God is there He's there for everyone, including the outsiders and especially those who are grieving.
Yeah, so true. Thanks again. We'll see you tomorrow.